I'm going to talk to you about artificial intelligence. Quick show of hands, does anyone use AI on a regular basis? One. Okay, and by that, do you mean like ChatGPT, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, that kind of thing? Cool. I'm seeing some nods. So first of all, I'll tell you about exactly who we are and who I am. So my name's Gordon, and I'm the communications manager at the Scottish AI Alliance. And our vision, as you can see here, is for Scotland to become a leader in trustworthy, ethical, and inclusive AI. We do that by encouraging fairness, ensuring that our values are embedded in our approach and adoption to AI, in encouraging greener technologies, making better use of resources and developing new low-carbon industries, by making Scotland more prosperous, empowering innovation with confidence building on a foundation of public trust, empowering our workforce and creating high-value jobs. Whoever wrote this really didn't have an eye for brevity. And being outward-looking on an international scale, engaging with global partners that share our values, forging partnerships, and contributing to tackling shared challenges. So that's what we're here for. And it's our job to deliver this vision. We're a partnership between the Data Lab, which is Scotland's Innovation Centre for Data and AI, and the Scottish Government. So we're going to do this by empowering Scotland's people, supporting our businesses, and influencing policy that affects Scotland. And that's on a Scottish Government level and at a UK level. And who knows, one day on a global level. So, who here thinks that they know what AI is? Nobody's arrogant enough to say they do, which is very good. There's a lot of misconception about AI. So I'm going to take you through a couple of these and hopefully dispel some myths. So what is AI? It's not new. You know, a lot of people have just been introduced to AI over the last couple of years when ChatGPT came out, but Edinburgh University has been studying AI for the last 60 years, and it was one of the first university departments to actually study it. So the term goes back to the 50s, and the applications and the maths behind it obviously go back a lot further. So we've adopted the OECD's definition because it used to reference intelligence, but that's now been taken out. So this is fun. An AI system is a machine-based system that, for a given set of explicit or implicit objectives, infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs such as predictions, content, recommendations, or decisions that can influence physical or virtual environments. Different AI systems vary in their levels of autonomy and adaptiveness after deployment. So that's like a catch-all. That basically means very little. It basically means AI is a thing and you can use it for stuff. It doesn't really mean a great deal beyond that. So let's try and separate some of the myth from some of the actual true stuff. First of all, AI is not one thing. It's not even a thing. AI is more of a social construct than it is an actual description of a technology. So it's a broad discipline of interconnected complementary technologies and data-driven techniques. So a lot of what people used to call, say, automation or streamlining is actually what we call AI now. So it's a branding thing. The next one is artificial general intelligence. So, when you get tech bros like Elon Musk or wherever I shouldn't swear here, whoever the person at Microsoft was or Google, when they say that AI has become sentient and that it can think and it can feel and it can evolve, those people are idiots. And anyone who says that about AI should immediately have all of their opinions on anything else completely discounted. Artificial general intelligence, and that is an AI that is as smart as, if not smarter than a human, does not exist. It probably won't ever exist. It's arguable. We just don't know. Anyone who thinks that ChatGPT is sentient now will be remembered the same way as people who thought cameras steal your soul. It's superstition, it's nonsense, and it's usually done to bump up share prices. And it's almost always done by Elon Musk. I think we can all agree he's the worst man on the planet. And things would just generally be better if he wasn't here. So, next one, people often blame AI and they blame the technology for the problems that we have. That's not true. AI is a tool. It is a series of tools. By focusing on these apocalyptic visions of AI and how it's going to kill us all and wipe out humanity, that is distracting from the fact that AI is being used for harm right now But it's not the AI's fault. It's a tool. You can't blame, Microsoft Word for your crappy screenplay or Excel for your poor spending decisions. It's the people behind the AI that need to be held accountable and who we need to do a better job of holding to account, because an AI essentially works, if you put crap in, you get crap out. So if you are working with poor data sets or racist data sets or biased data sets, all you're going to get is racist and biased results. So it's not the technology's fault, it's people's fault. Has anyone worried about this? AI is going to come for their job? It's absolutely not true. Somebody using AI will come for your job, and they will take it, because like any other tool, you can walk into a workplace now and try to get a job and say, I have no computer skills whatsoever, can't use Microsoft Word, can't open Excel, don't do emails. That would be a ridiculous thing to assume in this day and age. AI is the same. Everyone's going to have to learn how to use it, because it's going to become more and more integrated into our lives, whether we like it or not. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's going to create new jobs and new opportunities and new things for people to do. Because like any industrial revolution, yes, there will be job-related casualties, but they're replaced with new jobs. So it's really important that we make sure that especially young people now are equipped with the tools that they need to fully join an AI-powered workplace, the same way that we would teach computing in schools. So don't trust people is essentially the argument there. AI is not coming for your job, people are. Another thing that we hear a lot is AI is a magic bullet, it's a panacea, it's going to solve all your problems, it will fix your life, it will make you thinner, it will make you beautiful. That is nonsense. The vast majority of people don't need to use AI in any meaningful way. It's not going to fix everything. There shouldn't be a sense of a fear of missing out, because the only thing worse than being left behind in some kind of an industrial revolution is charging ahead and doing it really, really poorly and coming across like an idiot. So it's not going to solve all your problems. It might make things a little bit quicker, might help with streamlines and stuff, but it's not going to save a failing business, or it's not going to resurrect a failed marriage or whatever. So I'm going to talk about some risks and benefits, and we're finally into the part of the presentation that I was meant to be doing before Steph got sick, so this should hopefully be a little bit less slapdash. So some of the risks: no industry is impervious to AI. It is going to be implicated into absolutely every walk of life. It's kind of a given at this point, and that is a risk if you don't keep up. You have to keep up with technology and with technological advancements, otherwise you will be left behind. We've seen it 1,000 times, and it's only going to get quicker and more severe. Another risk is the double-edged sword of automation. So automation is obviously a wonderful thing. I'm assuming a lot of people here maybe use email marketing automation through MailChimp and tools like that. But automation can lead to banality. If you automate all your processes, it doesn't leave as much room for innovation or for doing things differently. So that is definitely a risk. And also, as I mentioned, a badly implemented AI is significantly worse than no AI at all. So if you try to integrate AI into your business or one of your events, and you use data sets that are incorrect or just poor or rubbish, that is going to be so much worse than if you just hadn't touched it. So don't go charging in, and you're going to get a lot of snake oil salesmen who come and say, we've got this great new events tool for you, it's AI powered. I can guarantee you 99% of the time it isn't. It's just automation, and it just goes quite quickly. But, salespeople they've got a job to do, even if it is morally repugnant. So benefits, because there are lots. If you use AI properly, it can save you time and money and sanity. Has anyone used ChatGPT? Stick your hand up. That's way more than I thought. It's fantastic for, there's nothing worse than the tyranny of the blank page. You're just sitting there and you're trying to write a proposal or a grant funding thing or, a blog, and you just stare at the blank page and nothing happens. ChatGPT is a great way to just, kind of ease yourself in, and you just have to remember that ChatGPT is rubbish and is incredibly prone to just making stuff up. I asked it to program an AI-related event for me in Scotland, and it got a handful of people right, and then it just started making people up. And it was actually all the women it made up, because it couldn't, obviously its data set, which is, I think, capped at September 2021, didn't have enough women in AI for it to actually recommend them. So I've just gone back into another risk. So there is a benefit. ChatGPT is good, but only if you're sensible with it and treat it like advice from a slightly questionable friend. It's like, yeah, it's good to get the advice, but take it with a pinch of salt and also like fact check and double check this. So in an ideal world, another benefit of AI is that it should free up creatives to actually be creative. I don't know how many people here are in the creative industries like graphic design or anything along those lines, but how much time do you spend like looking through endless lists of fonts or doing paperwork or having to write proposals and all that sort of nonsense? It's horrific, and it's not creative and it's not fun. In theory, AI should be able to help streamline all your processes so that creative people can be creative, admin people can do admin quicker. In theory, that's exactly how it should work. Unfortunately, we're in a world where we've got things like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion where people are now automating creativity. And that's a whole other ethical thing that I'm happy to chat about later on. If I heard there's drinks, so yeah, that'll help. Another benefit, and I'll come on to this in a little bit when it comes to the events industry, is hyper-personalization. So I'm sure everyone knows now that in the events industry, it's not just about putting on events, it's about putting on experiences. Hyper-personalization can only really be achieved through massive amounts of data that you adequately parse through and then have some sort of system to disperse it through. So there's a conference in, I think it was London, where you filled in a questionnaire before you went, and then when you walked into the venue, it played a little snippet of your favorite song that you told it, and it gave you a little goodie bag that was all personalized with all your favorite stuff. And they obviously had enormous budgets that I've never had. But AI can do things like that and make it easier, because you couldn't do that by hand for a conference of like 5,000 people, but you can train an AI tool to do it. And that leads on to immersion. And again, I'll talk about this in a minute, but things like, does anyone work with augmented reality? Yeah, one. Wow. So I'm not going to talk about that in great detail because I don't understand it, but it is very useful for the events industry. So I'm going to talk about a couple of real world applications. First of all is the attendee experience for events. So ChatGPT is what we call a large language model. It's essentially a huge collection of words, and it algorithmically tries its best to guess what word comes after the next one. That's all it is, really. It's not smart. It's just really good at guessing. What we're going to see a lot more of in the not too distant future, hopefully, is small language models. So ChatGPT is founded on data that they didn't own. I don't know if anyone's seen the court cases around, but they essentially scraped the internet for every word in the English language, and they are now using that for profit. That creates copyright issues, as you might expect. What you can do in the future, hopefully, is use a small language model. And that's where you give it your own data set that you have hopefully acquired ethically and thoroughly cleansed and cleaned, and you know exactly what's in there. And you can use that to start to do things like automating your customer service or hyper-personalization, augmented reality, bespoke experiences for people. Having this small language model means that it will be entirely owned by you and entirely within your control. Whereas right now, if you're using a generative AI tool, none of that's in your control. And frankly, there's going to be a lot of court cases over the next little while. They're going to have massive implications for whether or not you actually own any of these things. Like, does anyone here use Canva? Yeah. So you don't really own the stuff on Canva. That's not yours, especially if you use the AI tools. So one day, if Canva goes bust, or if something happens to them and they get all the digits, all that stuff doesn't belong to you. That's one of the biggest problems with using AI right now, is that we are at the frontier of a completely new world, and it is a little bit Wild West. And there is a distinct difference in the way that some countries are handling this Wild West and those who aren't. The UK government is taking a very hands-off approach. They're focusing on innovation. They don't want to get in the way, and they want to, well, just want AI companies to do what they can. In Scotland, we're taking a slightly more tempered approach. We're trying to make sure that all the decisions about AI and all the decisions that affect AI are tethered to trust, ethics, and inclusivity. Because like I said, you put crap in and you get crap out. It's going to perpetuate inequalities if we don't use it properly. So if you're using Midjourney and you say, make me a picture of an event in Scotland that has a steampunk theme or whatever, you're going to get a sea of white faces because it sees Scotland, it sees demographics, and it's going to say, right, they're all white. And that's not great. You ask ChatGPT, like I did, programming an AI event, and there were no women, or the women that were there were completely fictional, which is nonsense, because when I programmed the event myself, like doing actual human research, we had 70% the female and female identifying people, and only 30% men. It's perfectly possible to do, but if I'd relied on an AI tool to do that for me, I would be perpetuating gender imbalance in the tech industry, and that's obviously not a good thing. So all of these can be used to enhance your attendee experience. And the other thing, who here likes doing analytics and analysis and stuff? Entirely untrustworthy, because nobody should enjoy doing it. It's awful, and I hate it. It doesn't help that I just hate numbers. I can't do them. So this is where AI does actually have a lot of really, really good practical uses. So I'm sure you've seen lots and lots of tools are saying that they're now powered by AI. Like MailChimp has, AI-powered analytics. Really, it just means it's automating stuff for you and it's doing really, really quickly. But that is still a form of artificial intelligence. Pretty soon, once everyone is a little bit more comfortable around AI, you're going to be able to take enormous, huge amounts of data and never look at a spreadsheet again. You'll hopefully be able to put it into an AI tool, and it will parse everything out by exactly the standards that you want and by the criteria that you want. And it does all the maths for you. It does all the formatting. It makes all your reports. It'll do everything. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing, because again, that will free up so much time for people who really should be doing other things. Is anyone here in marketing? Nobody's willing to admit that. Cool. I am. But I spend most of my time doing admin-y things that really I shouldn't be doing because there's no one else to do them. Pretty soon, AI-powered tools, once they're fully integrated into the workplace, will be able to do a lot of the marketing and communications that right now we have people doing, but we have overqualified people doing it. So that's going to be a positive thing. The other thing that AI, and basically any data-driven model, can do amazingly is in-depth analysis, trends tracking, and pattern recognition. So unless you really have an eye for it, noticing trends over time can be difficult, especially if they're quite niche trends you might not have thought of. And that's usually where the greatest value comes from. AI and its associated tools will be able to do that lightning fast using any kind of data set that you have, assuming it's, a sensible one. And it'll be able to churn out predictions for you. Because right now, if you ask, say, ChatGPT, predict the winner of the World Cup, it'll be basing that on information from pre-2021, because that's where it's capped. Once all those restrictions are lifted, you'll be able to ask these large language models and analysis tools for predictions based on potentially all of the data that's ever been on the internet. And that's really the closest we have to divination. With enough data, you can predict almost anything. So AI is going to be really, really, really fascinating. And it's going to be, I hate the word disruptive because it's just what tech idiots say, but it is going to be disruptive. It's going to disrupt a lot of things, but hopefully in a positive way. So I forgot to Steph put a bit on at the end. So AI has an enormous amount of potential. I think anyone who's even remotely familiar with the news will understand that. it is going to transform the world for better if we do it right. We need to be holding people accountable who need to be held accountable. We need to have regulation, is a bit of a dirty word, but we do need to have regulation to make sure that the people who are mining data, the people who are collecting all these data sets that you then build AI algorithms on, you need to make sure that those are lawfully obtained. You have to make sure that they are unbiased, that they're ethical, because otherwise we're going to have a society where inequalities of all kinds will be massively exacerbated because there will be no human oversight. It will just be AI tools feeding off of bad information. They will then teach new AI tools and so on and so forth until everything goes a little bit pear-shaped. So that's it at the end. Are there any questions anyone would like to holler out? Or has anyone heard something that they're scared about with AI? Or are there any other myths that I can maybe put to rest right now? I'll also be hanging around later, so I can answer any questions there. But if you take anything away from this, I implore you to do 3 things. Don't use AI if you don't need to, because it's fraught with disaster. Don't use AI as an excuse to pay workers less. That's one of the most important things I wanted to take away from this, because when AI first came out a couple of years ago, when it became like a really popular thing, you could see like all the greedy, grubby little banker types, you know, rubbing their dirty little hands together thinking, we can just fire everybody and get an AI to do it. Not only is that wrong and stupid, but it's also wildly immoral. We should be using AI to make the world better, and the only way the world's going to get better is if we reduce wealth inequality. And we should be using AI as a tool to do that. We should not be using AI to take jobs away from workers. That is just a bad thing to do. And the third thing that you should take away from this is to not be scared. I've said a lot of like fairly negative things up here, but it's only because right now we're at the cusp of a massive, massive change in human society. And those changes are scary. You know, there'll be people alive now who would have seen the first flight, first landing on the moon, and now an AI revolution. And that's a terrifying thing, because things are changing quicker and quicker and quicker, and they're changing in bigger and bigger ways. It's important that you understand how we can harness all this for good, because we could be on the cusp of a post-scarcity society. We could be we could be traveling to other planets. We could be sending AIs out to other galaxies. We could be using AI to eradicate world hunger, homelessness, you name it. We could be using AI for all of these things, but that's only going to be possible is if regular people, like all of us, are aware of the pitfalls of AI, and that we make sure that we are actively working to use AI for good, and actively working to make sure that the data that trains AIs is used for good as well. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Last call for any questions. Otherwise, thanks very much for your time. It's been fun.